Hello, everyone. Welcome back. And it's a pleasure to have with us today James Francum. James is the co-founder and CEO of GxP-CC, a life sciences consulting company. James, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
James, why don't you tell us a little bit about your company? What do you do, and exactly what kind of products or services do you guys develop?
Okay. Well, at GxP-CC, we help life science companies, so pharmaceutical manufacturers, suppliers, medical device manufacturers. We help them with their regulatory compliance. A lot of times you have a company that wants to do business in the US, or they also have a local regulatory authority, and we help them to translate these regulatory authorities or regulations into actionable items. So we basically do anything from a site inspection to actually helping build up a facility to keep the policies and procedures running, as well as training the users on regulatory practice and making sure that everything's in place. And the whole reason for the regulations in place is to make sure that at the end a consumer, a patient, gets a good product, right? You want to make sure that the aspirin that you're using actually works. You want to make sure that the hand sanitizer is really hand sanitizer, not just water, and so on. So these are different things that the regulations are put in place, and we work actually worldwide. So we're based in Germany, and we also have a subsidiary site in Florida. But we operate with our customers in, I want to say 48 different countries right now, where we're actually supporting active projects, worldwide projects. And yeah, I had a great time in Mexico City, and really loved it with one of our customers. We were down there and doing a site implementation and making sure that all the regulatory features were in place, because they had created a large operation plant in Mexico City.
Okay, James, thank you very much. And how do you see the next 6 to 12 months in terms of a potential recovery? Let's speak first for your business, for your industry, and then in general for Germany, for example. What do you see panning out in the next 6 to 12 months? A V-shaped recovery, a U-shaped recovery. Now, everybody has this kind of W-shaped recovery.
Right.
What's your view?
Well, Winston Churchill is quoted for saying, "Never let a good crisis go to waste." And this is actually something that we see happening currently in the European Union. An interesting fact, about 80% of active pharmaceutical ingredients, it doesn't matter if it's a penicillin or if it's an aspirin or if it's something else, the active ingredient, the thing that makes the pain go away, these are produced in either India or in China. 80%. That's a huge number. And when we look at some of the things that have happened now in the COVID crisis, masks running out, not enough tablets available, a crisis in restocking medical devices, and so on. If you look at just Italy, or you look at some of the news and you say, oh, we ran out of a certain medicine, or we ran out of a certain device, it's because the supply chain is optimized very well, cost-based optimized, to be produced in China and India. But now at this point in time, European Union, as well as Angela Merkel, for instance, she was actually on TV early April, and she said, we need to have more sovereignty in our supply chain. And more sovereignty in the supply chain is actually translated into a conference that was actually just released last week, where the European Union has decided to regionalize the medical supply chain. So a lot of the pharmaceutical manufacturing, a lot of the medical device manufacturing, a lot of the active pharmaceutical ingredients manufacturing is now being considered to come back to the European Union. We could see the same thing happening in Latin America, or also in North America. So instead of just having the supply chain have huge shipment containers of an active ingredient coming back, with building the knowledge and the capacity and the production capacity, it can be done back at home or back in a regional setting. So this is a very interesting development that we're seeing, because obviously it was a cost-based optimization of a supply chain, where now a crisis hit that no one could have ever predicted in this sense. And now countries, nations, and in even trading groups like the EU are saying, well, wait a minute, we need to get a better handle on this. So what we're seeing is actually going to be an influx of business in the regulatory area. It's not that less is going to be produced. It's just when you have more players entering the market, that's when regulation becomes even more critical.
It's so interesting, my friend, because I mean, you and I and many of our viewers, I'm sure, grew on the environment of globalization for the past 30, 35 years. And that was the trend, and in how many projects have we worked in terms of offshoring things, seeing how we can do it more effectively and all that. But to me, the big question is this the end of that trend? Is this the end of globalization, at least as we see it from the point of view of supply chain? Is this going to change permanently? But it looks like that. There's talk about bringing jobs and production back everywhere and out of China. Is China then the big loser of this crisis? Probably will be.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. I don't think that the capacity will be able to be brought back overnight, and I don't think that everything will need to be brought back. If you look at some of the production facilities, we have a very large chemical plant near where I live, BASF, a worldwide chemical manufacturer. That plant is about the size of a city. When you drive by there, you're just driving and driving and driving, and it's still a plant. And to imagine to bring back the amount of capacity that's been outsourced now to India and to China, you would need construction projects for the next 15 years just to have a piece of that in every single country that you're bringing it back to. So I'm not sure if China, for instance, a country that can build a hospital in 10 days, is really going to give up that easily to say, you're gonna produce and manufacture everything in Europe again, or in other countries. Look, we can do it over here. So there's still that element of quick, fast, bring it up, make it run. It's very interesting dynamic. We actually have a customer that we're supporting in China with their regulatory areas. So it's a German customer, and they had a product which was running low on the active pharmaceutical ingredient, and they said, we know that we're running a 24/7 capacity, but now China shut down for a couple months. So how do we recoup this capacity? And what happened is, just like a modular system, like the hospital was built in 10 days, they built up additional manufacturing capacity in 15 days. So it was really fantastic to see, and it was completely regulated. It was per spec. It was per requirement of the Chinese FDA as well as the US FDA. So this is the other side of the coin, right? We hear we want to bring back manufacturing capability, but we also see that the current leader in 80% of the manufacturing is not in a position to say we're going to give it up too lightly, and they actually produce really good things really fast, and of course really cheap. So it's very interesting to see where this dynamic goes to.
Yeah, and so my sense is that you feel pretty bullish about the healthcare sector in general for the next few years, no? And
I would say yes.
What would be your take on the potential opportunities there? Obviously, I think the race for a vaccine for this COVID is going to be, many companies will be looking to that, but also probably lots of investment will come to healthcare, because with health issues being at the top of the front page, many companies will want to invest into that.
Exactly. If you look at the R&D pipeline, just in Europe, of the R&D pipeline for biopharmaceuticals, this was already in the billions before COVID. where investors were saying, okay, it's a great market. Let's get into genetic editing. Let's get into personalized healthcare. Let's get into different items like this. And now through COVID, now of course there's the race to the immunization. There's the different companies that are popping out that may or may not have a therapy that can support. But basically, this is going to be a huge investment branch. I mean, who wouldn't want to put money on the next, on the next blockbuster? But I think what we tend to see is, okay, there's a virus, and now we're going to have some sort of a solution for it. If you look at another virus that we've all been living with for about 40 years, there's HIV, and there's no cure for that. Right? That's a virus. It's been there. It's been active. We've learned to protect ourselves. We've learned to find other ways around it, but there really is no cure for that. And that was at one point in time also the blockbuster drug. It became a little bit less important once you could stabilize it, once you could stop the immediate deaths and you could stop the shocking numbers of uncontrollability. So once you could control it, it became less interesting in an investment branch. So this is also something to look at.
Absolutely, it's a good parallel to think about. Well, James, thank you very much for your views. They are always extremely interesting, and I'm sure we'll be in touch in the future. Thank you,
Great.
my friend.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay.